Hi, my name is Michael Duluth. I'm the Senior Technical Transit Operations Planner for the RTC here at Washoe. I'm here to present recommendations that have come up from our Transit Optimization Plan Strategy study that we've been doing with our consultant. This study is to put together RTC's public transportation operations and capital plan that is supposed to cover the next 5 years of operation. We'll explain the changes that we're planning over the next 5 years and ask for your help in getting feedback by completing a survey. RTC's consultant and RTC staff have poured over hundreds of comments received from the public outreach, reviewed demographics, ridership data, and many other data points to arrive at the following recommendations and believe these will improve service efficiency and performance of RTC's public transit services. Back in December and January, RTC asked for feedback on existing bus system, and you responded. More than 1,000 people took our online survey, and many more gave comments at community presentations. On this slide, we're showing draft recommendations only. They are based on previous public feedback and RTC board direction. We are seeking public input for each of the recommendations. The timeline below shows milestones to a September 2022 implementation and beyond. Your input is critical in helping RTC staff and board make an informed decision. The timeline shown is April and May. We're conducting the public review of the draft recommendations. These recommendations will go to the board in May for approval. There will be a public hearing in July for the proposed changes for the September service change, and then implementation of service recommendations in September. The next slide is what we've heard. Some of the most requested changes we've heard during the survey were make buses run more often, make buses run on time and more reliably, make buses run earlier in the morning, buses run later in the evening, and straighten bus routes for faster travel times. At the same time, the RTC board gave the following direction: evaluate ongoing ridership and workforce trends to guide the development of new transit services, review the provision of RTC ride services to ensure that the vehicle size and vehicle type match the demand of service, create additional microtransit services, including areas of poorly performing fixed routes or suburban areas where no transit service exists. And finally, leverage technology to improve operational efficiency and effectiveness, which improves the customer experience by having a single application for both trip planning and payment. Based on public and rider feedback and RTC board direction, the top study has developed an initial group of changes and improvements to the public transit system. We would like to get your feedback and thoughts on these recommendations. The proposed changes are route by route, and the first route is Route 2 and 2S. On this slide, it shows a map of the Route 2 and 2S, and the recommended change is, first of all, not to change Route 2. Second of all, Route 2S is recommended to be discontinued. We will monitor passenger loads on Route 2 and provide additional trips if needed. On the next slide, Route 3CC and 3CL, it is recommended discontinuing both Route 3CL, which is the clockwise loop, and Route 3CC, the counterclockwise loop. The one-way loop routing is difficult for customers to understand and makes the route more difficult to use when making a return trip. These routes would be partially replaced with changes to routes 4 and 11, and the inclusion of Flexride, the expanded Flexride zone in that area. The recommended extension of Route 11 will connect communities west of downtown Reno to Sparks with a one-seat ride. We also recommend extending Somerset Verde Flexride zone to the east to cover the Kings Row area. The new proposed service changes to Route 4, Route 11, Flexride will be discussed later in this video. Next slide is Route 4. On this slide, we show a map of Route 4, and the recommended changes is to reroute Route 4 to cover the most productive segments of the existing routes 3 and 4 north of I-80. The new routing from downtown will be eastbound on 7th Street, turning south on McCarran to westbound on Mayan, then northbound on Sierra Highlands, then back to westbound 7th Street. The route would then turn south on Robb Drive, then turn west on Charlins Avenue. This ends the outbound trip. The route begins its return inbound trip northbound on Avenida de Landa to eastbound on May Ann before returning to Robb Drive and continuing on the same routing in the reverse direction back to downtown and 4th Street Station. The midday service on Sundays would be added. The next slide is showing Route 5. There's a map indicating the routing of Route 5. The recommended change is rerouting Route 5. The new routing swaps the alignments south of Sun Valley Boulevard and El Rancho Drive with Route 15. That means that Route 5 would follow the same route of Route 15 from 4th Street Station to the intersection of Clear Acre, Sun Valley Boulevard, and the El Rancho Dandini intersection. This new routing would also discontinue service on a segment of El Rancho between McCarran and Sullivan Lane, instead serving the relocated Hug High School along Sullivan Lane. This new routing will also create a connection between the new Hug High School and Sun Valley, which is part of the attendance area. Additionally, it allows for a direct connection of Sun Valley residents and Winco shopping area. The next slide is depicting Route 6. The recommendations for Route 6 is replacement of Route 6 with Flexride because of low ridership on Route 6. The Route 6 service area would partially be replaced with the new West Reno Flexride zone and a new Route 51 serving the southern section of the route. The new recommended Flexride service will be discussed later in the video, as well as the new Route 51. On the next slide, Route 9, the recommended change for Route 9 is improving its frequency. The new routing will provide more direct routing between Centennial Plaza and Meadowood Mall, as well as providing more direct access to Walmart on 2nd Street. This connection to Meadowood Mall will allow for additional transfers and should increase ridership. Again, it will also connect Centennial Plaza to Walmart on 2nd Street. The new line of route for the from north to south will be westbound on Victorian to south on Rock Boulevard to westbound on 2nd Street towards Walmart, southbound on Kitsky all the way to Peckham. Here the route turns eastbound on Peckham, then southbound on Smith Ridge into Meadowood Mall. Frequency will be increased to every 30 minutes during the weekday, peak, and midday periods. Riders along Mill Street segment, formerly served by Route 9, would be able to access the Walmart on 2nd Street via a proposed change to Route 12 discussed later in this video. The next slide depicts Route 11. The recommended change is extending Route 11 further east from Centennial Plaza and west from 4th Street Station along the 4th Street and Prater corridor. Extending west from 4th Street, the route would connect to shopping destinations at McCarran Boulevard and 7th Street, Walmart, via 4th Street, Summit Ridge Drive, Sky Mountain Drive, and McCarran Boulevard. Extending east from Centennial Plaza Station, the route would connect to shopping destinations at McCarran Boulevard and Prater, which would be the Food Max Iron Horse Shopping Center area, and connect to Centennial Plaza via 15th Street. This extension would partially replace the previously discussed recommended routes 3CC and 3CL discontinuation. And this will be discussed and to be discussed as Route 26 discontinuation later in this video. Next slide depicts Route 12. Recommendations is rerouting Route 12 to serve Renown Regional Medical Center, a segment of Mill Street via Kerman Avenue, Mill Street, and Kitsky Lane back on regular line of route past the 2nd Street Walmart into the Grand Sierra Resort Hotel down to Meadowood Mall. This would allow Mill Street residents to connect with the Walmart on 2nd Street instead of Fire Creek Walmart, currently served by Route 9, which is recommended to be rerouted away from this Walmart. The next slide depicts Route 13. Next recommendation is the rerouting of Route 13 near downtown. The reroute would use Lake Street and Mill Street to connect to 4th Street Station instead of Wells Avenue and 4th Street. And we would add midday service on Sundays. Next slide depicts Route 14. Next recommendation is the extension of Route 14 to Centennial Plaza via McCarran Boulevard, Gregg Street, Glendale Avenue, and Victorian. This new routing will create a connection between Centennial Plaza to the Sparks Business Park, a trip which currently requires a transfer in downtown Reno to make. It would also replace a section of Route 54, which is recommended to be discontinued and to be discussed later in this video. Next slide is depicting Route 15, recommendation of rerouting Route 15. The new line of route swaps the segments of Route 5 from 4th Street Station to the intersection of Clearacre and Sun Valley Boulevard in El Rancho and Dandini. This provides a faster trip between 4th Street Station and the Truckee Meadows Community College, offering a more direct route. As part of this change, Truckee Meadows Community College would be added to the North Valley's Flexride zone as a point of interest. The next slide is depicting Route 16. The proposed recommendation is discontinuing Route 16 because of low ridership and replacing it with the new West Reno Flexride zone mentioned above, providing service in the area along this discontinued route and expands Flexride service in this part of Reno. The new Flexride zone will be explained in more detail later in this video. Next slide is Route 19. The recommendation is proposed discontinuation of Route 19 because of low ridership, especially at the Reno Tahoe Airport and nearby parallel routes. Additionally, several minutes of the route is consumed by a low-speed drive to circulate through the airport. Airport access is fully supported by Route 12 with stops on Terminal very near the walk path that leads directly to the airport terminal. The Social Security Administration building is covered by a recent change to the Route 13. The next slide depicts Route 21. It is recommended to extend Route 21 to the Northern Nevada Medical Center and includes serving the Marina Gateway Drive. The new routing is along eastbound Victorian Avenue from Centennial Plaza Station, turning northbound on Nichols Boulevard, northbound on McCarran Boulevard, eastbound on Prater Way, southbound on Marina Gateway Drive, eastbound on Lincoln Way, southbound on Legends Bay Drive, then back onto eastbound Lincoln Way, northbound on Lillard, and finally eastbound on Prater to Northern Nevada Medical Center. The return inbound trip will follow the reverse of all these streets back to Centennial Plaza Station. This reroute would serve a portion of Route 26 along Prater Way, which is proposed to be discontinued and described on the next slide. We are also proposing an increase in Saturday midday frequency to every 30 minutes to match the peak frequency. The next slide depicts Route 26. Recommended proposal is discontinuing Route 26, which, as previously mentioned, will partially be replaced by the recommended changes to Route 11 and Route 21. On the next slide, Route 54 is depicted. The proposed change to Route 54 is to discontinue it, and portions of it would be served by Route 9 and Route 14. We are also proposing to add a new Route 52 that covers the southern section of this route, which I will describe on an upcoming slide. Next slide depicts the new Route 51. Recommendation is a new route, Route 51, which would connect the Greenfield area to Fire Creek Crossing, Walmart, and Meadowood Mall. As mentioned earlier, this partially replaces the southern portion of the recommended discontinued Route 6. Service would operate every 30 minutes during weekday peak and midday, and every 60 minutes during early morning, evenings, and weekends. The proposed routing from Meadowood Mall is north on Virginia Street to westbound on McCarran Boulevard, then northbound on Kitski Lane, eastbound on Redfield Road, closest access to Walmart around Fire Creek Crossing, to northbound on Baker Lane, then westbound on Moana Lane, finally northbound on Plumas Street. The return trip will start on northbound Plumas Street to eastbound Brinkby Avenue, to southbound on Lakeside Drive, to eastbound on Moana Lane, then follow the reversed routing back to Meadowood Mall. The next slide depicts Route 52. Next recommendation is a new proposed Route 52 that would connect Donner Springs to Meadowood Mall, which connects a portion of Miraloma and McCarran to Meadowood Mall that is currently served by the Route 54 that is recommended to be discontinued. This route provides new connections to the Veterans Benefits Administration Office and the new Northern Nevada Sierra Medical Center. As noted earlier, this partially replaces the southern portion of the discontinued Route 54. Service would operate every 30 minutes during the weekday peak and midday, and every 60 minutes during the early morning, evenings, and weekends. The proposed routing from Meadowood Mall is south on Neal Road to eastbound on Dulucci Lane to southeast on Airway Drive, which turns into Double R Boulevard, to northeast on Reno Corporate Drive, access to the VA Benefits Building, to northwest on Barron Way, then northbound on Longley Lane, to eastbound on Mariloma Drive, then southbound on McCarran Boulevard. Then the route would start the return trip on McCarran Boulevard to south on Longley Lane, with the same reverse routing back to Meadowood Mall. The next slide depicts a map of the Somerset Verdi Flexride zone. As discussed earlier, we were proposing to expand the existing Somerset Verdi Flexride zone further east along to the discontinued segments of routes 3 and 4. The new zone would also connect to new alignments of routes 4 and 11. It would provide a connection to North Valley's Flexride zone at Reno Sports Complex and Rancho San Rafael Park. The expanded area of the zone is generally bordered by Sierra Street on the east, McCarran Boulevard on the north, and Kings Row neighborhood on the south. The next slide depicts the new West Reno Flexride zone. As discussed earlier, the new West Reno Flexride zone would partially cover areas along the discontinued routes 6 and 16. It would also provide service to the 4th Street station to allow for seamless connections to the rest of RTC transit system. The new zone boundaries are generally the Truckee River on the north, McCarran Boulevard on the west, Plum Lane on the south, and Plumas Lane on the east. The zone would also include a section south on Plum Lane along the discontinued section of Route 6. The next slide depicts the new South Meadows to Monte Ranch Flexride zone area. The proposed change is to create a new Flexride zone serving the South Meadows and DeMonte Ranch areas. The zone generally provides service bounded by South Meadows Parkway on the north, Rio Wrangler Parkway on the east, Veterans Parkway on the south, and Double Diamond Parkway on the west. It also includes a point of interest at Summit Commercial Center. The zone will also allow customers to connect to points of interest outside the zone, including Walmart, Raley's at Galena, and the University of Nevada, Reno, the Redfield campus. Customers will be able to transfer to Route 56 at Walmart. The next slide is a discussion of expanded senior services. In addition to the proposed changes to the ride bus route and Flexride service, we were also proposing to expand 2 of the senior mobility programs. First, we propose expanding the senior ride taxi program. Next, we propose expanding the Uber Ride program. The enhancements will provide greater mobility for seniors currently using the services and any senior customers who may be impacted by the proposed changes to the bus system. The final slide is depicting Take Our Survey. Provide feedback on draft recommendations by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to rtcwashoe.com and selecting the survey link or requesting a paper survey. Let us know how else we can improve our services. For filling out the survey, you'll be provided a free 7-day pass through Token Transit. For completing the survey, this may take up to 3 weeks to process, and it will require your cell phone number to be able to process it. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to your feedback.